Welcome everyone. Welcome. This is the International Student Chat, and this is a special edition of the International Student Chat because we have a lovely baking demo and a little bit about the agenda for the day. We'll do a short presentation and then we'll have our baking demo, and after that we'll have time for Q&A, so you can ask your questions in the Q&A section about the admissions process or anything that I go over. But first, I should introduce myself. My name is Yameli Hernandez. I'm one of the international admissions counselors here at the CIA, and I welcome you all to this event. Here at the CIA, we believe food is life. Food is at the center of everyone's lives. 100% of people need food to live and to survive. So with a deep hands-on understanding of food and the knowledge of food, there are endless opportunities. So the New York campus, which is where I'm based out of, it provides the total experience. We're located in Hyde Park, New York, so about an hour and a half north of New York City. We have the largest campus with 2,400 students, and we do have on-campus housing. And at this campus, we have 42 production kitchens and bake shops. We also have two other campuses within the US. So we have a campus in California and then also in Texas. Our campus in California gives Napa Valley vibes. It's located in the heart of wine country, so in St. Helena, California, with about 340 students. They do have on-campus housing as well. Now our Texas campus, it's urban infused. It's located in San Antonio, Texas on the famous Riverwalk. They're our smallest campus with about 200 students, and they don't have on-campus housing, so it's a commuter campus. We offer world-class degree programs to suit your goals and needs. So at all three of the US campuses, we offer the associate's degree. We also offer a bachelor's degree, which is offered exclusively at the New York campus. And we do have some master's programs which are online and asynchronous. Something that's unique to the CIA is the CIA Core Advantage. So this provides hands-on real-world experience unique to the CIA. You'll receive industry-driven curriculum and double the foundational skills and deeper dives into specializations than most colleges. And your classrooms are live production kitchens, and they're also in our award-winning public restaurants. So all of your classes are taught with a food focus. So your math, science, English classes all have a food focus. The CIA Core Advantage is taught in 4 different stages. So the first stage is the foundation stage, and that's where, as a culinary arts student, you'll learn knife cuts, soups, and stocks. And then as a baking and pastry student, you'll learn basic baking and pastry methods. The next stage is production. So for culinary arts student, you'll take different production classes, so like banquet cooking, high volume production cooking, and a la carte cooking. And then for baking and pastry students, you'll do high volume production baking, and you'll make the individual breads, pastries, and desserts for all of campus. The next stage is specialization. This is where you'll take a lot of fun classes. So for culinary arts students, you'll take 3 global cuisines classes. And so you'll take cuisines of the Americas, where you'll learn North American, Central American, and South American cuisine. You'll also take cuisines of Asia. So you learn cuisines like Vietnamese, Chinese, Korean, cuisines from all over Asia. And then the last cuisines class is cuisines of the Mediterranean. So think France, Turkey, Spain. And then for baking and pastry arts students, you'll take some specialty classes. So like baking with dietary restrictions, making high fiber pastries and breads, gluten-free pastries. And then you'll also take a chocolates and confections class. So you'll learn how to make chocolates with different fillings, like nut-based fillings, jellies, ganache. And then you'll also do sugar work. So you'll learn how to pull and blow sugar. And then the last part of this phase is the operations phase. So that's where students will work 1 semester in one of our restaurants on campus. And all of our restaurants face the public, so you'll be working with real world customers. How that works is the first half of the semester, you'll be working front of the house. And then the second half of the semester, you'll be working back of the house. So throughout those 15 weeks, you'll learn every single position throughout the restaurant. And then our associate's degrees, they include that CIA Core Advantage. They're offered at all 3 of our US campuses. You can major in either culinary arts or in baking and pastry arts, and they're delivered in less than 2 years, so in about 19 months. Our bachelor's degrees, they're our most popular degree. They're offered exclusively at the New York campus. They include the CIA Core Advantage, and then you'll be able to add next level learning with your choice of major, and you can further customize your degree by selecting a concentration. And the bachelor's degrees are 3 years. Now, our bachelor's degree majors, we have food business management. That's our most popular major. That's for the more entrepreneurial student. So if you want to open up your own restaurant or your own bakery, your own food business, this is a great program. Next, we have applied food studies. So if you're really into sustainability, farm to table, really making a change within our food systems, a lot of our students go into food policy making, food education, things like that. We also have culinary science, which is a little bit different than applied food studies because it's focused on the scientific principles of cooking. So a lot of our students go into research and development, like product safety, food safety. And then the last but most unique major is hospitality management. So this is where students really learn like front of the house work, and they can work in hotels, cruises, restaurant groups, hospitality groups. And then with all of these majors, you would have a core in either baking and pastry arts or in culinary arts, with the exception of hospitality. You can further customize your degree doing a concentration. So concentration is a semester long of experience, and they're a little bit more specific. So at the California campus, we have farm to table, advanced baking and pastry, and wines and beverages. And then at the Texas campus, we have Latin cuisines. We have some study abroad while studying abroad opportunities with Mediterranean cuisine, which is at a partner campus in Barcelona, Spain, and then Asian cuisine, which is at our campus in Singapore. And then some more local concentrations right at the New York campus are African cuisines, Japanese cuisines, and in entrepreneurship. Here you'll be learning from the best of the best. So we don't just have chefs and bakers, but we also have anthropologists, authors, chemists, historians. So your faculty members do have a lot of experience and talent. And then whether you're doing the associate's or the bachelor's degree, you will have to do an internship, and this is a great experience. It's a full semester, and you'll get to choose from over 2,000 world-class employers. So as you can see here, Food Network, Disney, 11 Madison Park, you have over 2,000 to choose from. Most of these internships are paid, so you'll be earning college credits, but this semester is actually tuition free, so you won't have to pay for tuition. And when it gets to that point in your academic career to do the internship, you'll have a personal career and academic advisor that will guide you. At the CIA, future employers come to you. So we actually host the food world's largest career fair 3 times a year, and it's a 2-day event. So on the first day is when students go and they network with employers, they get to learn about the different opportunities available and about the companies. And then on the second day is when these employers host interviews. So these interviews can land you a post-grad job opportunity or your internship. And speaking of post-grad, all CIA graduates have access to something called CIA Connect. So this is an exclusive job database where over 200 jobs are posted every month, and you'll have access to this database for life. So you'll always have those connections throughout your academic career, but also after you graduate. So these are just some examples of different jobs that over our 50,000 alumni are in right now. So you don't just have to become a chef or baker, but you can also become a research and development chef, a food writer, a business consultant, a private chef. So the opportunities are endless. And then we always have a calendar full of activities. So these are some of our popular on-campus activities. So community outreach days, comedians, magicians, laser tag, dances, cookouts, of course. And then we do take our students on off-campus trips as well. So we take them to like local farms, shopping trips, and we take them to New York City for Broadway shows and sporting events. So there's always something for you to do both on and off campus. So it may come as a surprise to you, but we do have sports. So we don't compete in a division, but we have intercollegiate sports. So we have basketball and soccer, and then some just for fun activities are turkey bowl, open gym, student versus faculty games, and pool battleship. We want you to feel right at home. So, over 90% of our students do live on campus. We have three different types of residence halls. So, we have townhomes, residence halls, and lodges. And now it is time for our baking demo. And I'm going to introduce our special guest, Christina Ciaccio. She is an alumni, a baking and pastry alumni from 2013, and she's also our Associate Director of Admissions. So I will be turning it over to Christina.
Hi, everyone. I am Christina Ciaccio. I'm the Associate Director of Admissions here at CIA. As Emily mentioned, I am also a graduate. I graduated in 2013 with my bachelor's degree in baking and pastry and food business management. After graduation, I worked a little while at my same externship location. I externed at Abigail Kirsch, which is a catering company based out of Tarrytown for the greater New York area. And they do very fine dining catering. And I was lucky enough to do my externship there and then work there for a little while in front of the house as well. I also worked as an admissions counselor. And at that point in my life, I decided, hey, I really need to go manage a bakery because that's what I went to school for. So with the kind of blessing of my supervisors here at CIA, I went and I managed Magnolia Bakery, Rockefeller Center in New York City. And that is just a huge production. We had like 80 staff members, and it's constantly making small batch items on a very, very large scale. And I did that for a few months and then became the catering and events manager, which was a ton of fun. So I worked out of our production kitchen, which was a big warehouse space, and developed relationships with hotels and private companies to kind of set up routine orders, and also built out their wedding cake business, which they had not had one yet. So we got to develop all the flavors, the menus, the pricing, everything. So that was a really great experience. We did that for a few years and then decided to move back up to the Hudson Valley for some personal reasons. And I became the operations manager in admissions. Then I worked in enrollment as the assistant director. And now I am happy to say I'm the associate director of admissions. So I've kind of been throughout lots of facets of CIA, and I'm happy to be here speaking with you today. So today, we are going to be making one of my favorite recipes and something I've kind of become known for. And this is going to be heavy cream scones. So maybe a little non-traditional for scone recipes out there. If you've seen, there are typical scones that typically use butter to hydrate that require lamination, which is this idea of folding fat in flour. You see it with croissants and danishes, and with biscuits and scones. But with this recipe is really designed for production. So it's a quick, easy American scone that's designed for a large scale, so you can crank them out quickly. And the unique qualities of this are really the texture, the bite to it. It's made with bread flour. We'll get into all the ingredients in just a sec, but it's made with bread flour, so it really has a unique texture and bite to it, which is fantastic. And this recipe is really a blank slate. So it's got 5 ingredients, and you can take it and do anything you want with it, which I love. So heavy cream, bread flour are things that kind of set this recipe apart. But what do we know about scones? So scones typically, to be a good scone, a good characteristic, would be to have some browning on the outside, a light fluffy crumb on the inside. It's got to be strong enough to hold like butter, jam, clotted cream, who knows? And that light fluffy kind of texture is really kind of the key. So when we're working with bread flour is something that has a little bit more protein in it. So it develops gluten a little bit more quickly, which is a little nerve-wracking when you're talking about a light fluffy crumb. It's important with this recipe that we time ourselves and we really look for some key characteristics. So I'll make sure you guys are watching out for those when we get there. Now, today, like we do in our classes, we're going to focus on the technique, because once you have a technique mastered, you can apply it to a variety of recipes. So we at CIA teach via technique, which means that when you have an understanding of what not only your ingredients are, where they're sourced, this technique, you can then take that and do a ton of different things with it. And then we'll also talk through what some good methods are for potentially selling this and bringing it to production and those types of things, which is the ultimate goal, right? So yeah, let's get started. So my ingredients today, there's 5 main ingredients. We've got the bread flour, like I mentioned. So I've already got that in our bowl here. But we've also got salt, baking powder, sugar, and heavy cream. So this recipe, like I said, is a really great blank slate, because the sugar you can adjust the amount that you include, depending if you want to go savory or if you want to go a little bit more sweet. So like I make this recipe as like a cheddar bacon chive scone recipe, and I usually tone down the sugar by an ounce or 2. And for sweeter things, I like to dial it up, maybe 1 or 2 ounces also. So there's some variations and things that you can play with that's not really going to affect the quality of your recipe too much. Now, I want to talk about our mix-ins a little bit. So today we're going to be making cherry almond scones, and I'm super excited to be utilizing these Fabry Amarena cherries, which are delicious and a super high quality product. So these cherries are obviously Italian, but they are they're super high quality. They're served in syrup, and they're great for cocktails. They're great for baked goods. They're also very, very expensive. So we want to make sure we're utilizing these in a way that's featuring them if we're including this on a menu, and that we are really kind of showing it off, right? This is the prize. So we want to make sure we're utilizing these in that way. So today we're featuring those with some almonds, but I also did a playoff on this recipe as well with just some dried cherries. These are just Bing cherries that are dried here with chocolate chips. And I made a few of these in advance so you guys could see a finished product, because with baking, we don't get to see the finished product for a little while. It requires a little bit of patience, right? So I did these ahead of time with some dried cherries and just some chocolate instead. And it's a great way to kind of use the product that you have available to you. You might not have cherries all year round. You might not have access to these delicious Amarena cherries. You might want to utilize something else instead. So there is ways to adjust this based on your price point, based on seasonality, based on your budget, based on resale. There's a lot of things. So you can really take it and go wherever you want with it, which I love. So we're going to start by getting all of our dry ingredients into our mixer. This requires, you can do this definitely by hand, but this requires a paddle attachment. So we're going to put in our salt. We're going to put in our baking powder. And we're going to put in our sugar. And I'm just going to use the mixer attachment just to combine these ingredients. Now, we did go ahead and sift our flour in advance. So I definitely recommend sifting your dry ingredients in advance. Obviously, production of flour is kind of much better than it used to be, but it is still a great practice to sift your ingredients, to add air to kind of make sure you're dispersing any lumps that might be in there that might jeopardize the quality of your end product. And then also checking for any, outside contaminants. It used to be really common to find like bits of rock inside your flour, which is not such a thing anymore. But it's important that we go ahead and sift it just to make sure, because you never know what could be in there. All right, so we've gone ahead and added and incorporated all of our dry ingredients. Those pretty well dispersed. And I have gone ahead and taken the majority of my Amarena cherries, and I've cut these up and I've mixed them with a bit of flour that I reserved. Now, it's important with this recipe, so depending on the type of mix-ins that you have, that you kind of adjust. So I mentioned for sweeter things, you can adjust the sugar. For savory things, you can reduce it. But when you have ingredients that are maybe a little bit have a little bit more moisture in them, you're going to want to reduce the amount of heavy cream that you use. And that is, again, something that will come with practice and will come with kind of identifying key characteristics. When you're looking at the dough coming together and seeing that it has kind of the right texture, the right sound, the right feel to it. So we like to use all of our senses to identify a successful recipe. So I went ahead and I chopped up most of these. I'm going to cut up these 3 right now. Also, I just took these amarena cherries and quartered them. And that's just to ensure that these little delicacies here are incorporated into every bite of that scone. We could leave them whole, of course, if we had more of them. But with this, we are trying to be mindful of our overall cost, our overhead. So we're sticking to a set amount in order to meet that budget goal. So I'm going to just toss these with some flour. And the reason we like to incorporate these with flour in advance is because 1, they're full of moisture. And 2, they stick together. They're a pretty sticky item. So for items that are full of moisture, it's a best practice to toss them. Even if I have like fresh blueberries, or even cheese, tossing cheese in a little bit of flour, because it can come kind of clump together. This helps the mix-in to kind of evenly distribute throughout the drying ingredients. So it's not all one big ball, and it doesn't all go to the bottom of the bowl or go to the sides of the bowl. It helps just to keep things kind of a little bit more evenly distributed, which is great. So go ahead, just checking all my pieces to make sure they're not clumped up. Because again, we want to make sure we have a bite of these cherries in every single bite. I'm going to add these in our dry. And I'm also going to add our almonds. Now I am going to save a few almonds for our garnish at the end. And ultimately we want, and we can go ahead and share this recipe with anybody who might like it. Just reach out to our admissions general inbox and let us know that you're interested in getting this recipe, and go ahead and send this back out to you. But generally speaking, we want this to be about a pound of mix-ins. And this recipe, depending on how you end up cutting it, can get you anywhere from 2 dozen to 4 dozen scones. So it's versatile. I like big fat daddy scones. So I'm usually between 20 and 24 total for this recipe. So you can see here we've got kind of our dry ingredients. And if I scoop up a handful anywhere in here, I'm getting lots of almonds and I'm getting little pieces of these cherries rather. So we've got it all kind of nice, evenly distributed. And then here is where our lovely mixer comes into play. And it will get a little loud for a minute, so I'm not going to try and talk over it because it would be futile. So I'll have Yameli, when we get started, she'll bring the camera over so you guys can take a peek at what's going on inside the bowl. But I want to describe it a little bit because it's important to watch our pacing. So as we go through, we'll turn on the mixer and then we're going to start to stream the heavy cream into the bowl. Now, if we go too slow, the dough is going to get overworked. It's bread flour rather. And if we overwork it, it will develop too much gluten and it's going to be too chewy and it's going to be really hard and stiff. And so we don't want that. If we go too slow, then we run the risk of not hydrating our flour enough. And if we are too fast, rather, we run the risk of not hydrating our flour enough and putting in too much heavy cream. So I know that I'm not going to use all of this. I know that I'm going to need to reserve some because as this wet ingredient mixes in with dry, those cherries are going to start to get access to some moisture again, and they're going to release more moisture again as we start to incorporate everything together. So our timing is going to be really important, and watching how the dough behaves. And as soon as it kind of starts to come together into this shaggy mass, there should still be like a little bit of dry ingredients at the bottom. And there should be kind of like just this sticky kind of shaggy mass forming. As soon as that forms, I'm going to stop. I'm going to bring it onto my workstation and I'm going to finish it up by hand. Just make sure. Cherry juice off of there. And we'll go from there. Okay, come on over. Lift this up. You tell me when you're good. I think you guys can see. You want to come a little bit closer, maybe? Perfect. All right. So I'm just going to start. And it's starting to come together already. And at this stage, I want to kind of, this is actually a technique called jockeying, when you're turning your mixer on, turning it off, kind of assessing so you're not overworking. I'm going to add a little bit more heavy cream. A little bit more. You see there's seed over there. And that is really, so you see how that nice side, I don't know if you can see that. This nice little bit right here just came off the side, kind of all in one big clump. Fantastic. So this is the right texture that we're looking for. And this is what's going to replicate those beautiful layers, that tender crumb, that flakiness that we would get from hard work of lamination with butter. And how long did that take us? Like 30 seconds, if that. So this is a much more time efficient. And then if you're, paying somebody to make this for you in your bakery, cost efficient way to make some really delicious scones. So we're going to take this now. I just have a bowl scraper. It can help us get the rest of our items out. And like I said, there should be some dry, there's some flour still in the bottom, and that's perfect because we're going to incorporate by hand this last little bit. And this is my favorite part. You kind of get to, if you've ever liked playing with like clay as a kid, or now even, we're going to shape this into just like a bar. And that's because I like to do big triangles with my dough. My scones and just nice big chunky triangles. But if you wanted to do squares, you could do squares as well. And as I'm mixing this, I'm not kneading, because kneading again would do that same thing that over mixing would do. So I'm not kneading, but instead I'm kind of like using my fingers almost like a whisk. I can't really describe it, but I'm trying to incorporate this last little bit of moisture into this last little bit of dry ingredient, while not overworking the dough. And that's the key. And then I'm going to just start to form kind of like a loose log, to try and incorporate the rest of our, to try and then cut up our scones and get them to the shape that we want. So I'm just mixing this last little bit, getting these to a good place, while still maintaining the majority of this beautiful texture that we have. So when you do, this is a half version of the recipe. So when you do a full version, you could do either one big log or probably two. And what's nice is when you do a bigger version of this recipe also, say you want to, do it 2 or 3 times the actual base recipe. For a larger production, you can get all your dry ingredients together, and you can do different batches of different flavors of things, which is awesome. All right, so we've worked this together. We've created our log. It is at a thickness that I like. So like I said, this recipe could get you anywhere from 24 to 48 scones. If you want thinner scones, if you want square scones, if you want round scones, it gets you a variety of things. So this is at a thickness that I like. Like I said, I like those big fat daddy scones. But if you want something thinner, you can do 2. Whatever works best. Right. And then I'm just going to take these and I'm going to cut them into triangles. And I'm probably going to do about 10. It's 9. That's a beautiful looking thing. So we can see lots of cherry mixed in here, lots of almond. Beautiful. All right, so we're going to space these out on our tray. And then we are going to get ready to garnish. So garnish is like a super important piece that is not always like the key focus, right? So it's something that we want to think about when we garnish an item. We always want to make sure that we're garnishing with the ingredients that are inside, because we want our customer, when they walk up to the counter, to look and see, oh, that is cherry almond, and not have to read a sign. We want them to be able to look at that and be like, oh, okay, I know at least one or two of the ingredients that are in that. And from there, I can go ahead and then decide what I want. So when we're garnishing, using garnish, using an ingredient that you have in the recipe is your best bet. And that's what we're going to do. So we're going to garnish with our almonds today and a little bit of this beautiful turbinado sugar. Turbinado sugar is just a less refined, kind of large grain sugar, which is delicious. It adds a really nice crunch, so we get a little bit more texture with our scone. I'm just using this leftover heavy cream to go ahead and brush the top of our scones, and that is going to get us some more added moisture on the top to attach that sugar and these almonds with. Just add a little bit more, and who doesn't love a little bit more fat on top of their scones, right? Like, this is just a real kind of delicacy. I love it. It's just super easy, super quick, also super, super delicious, and yields a beautiful result. So I'm brushing the tops of these, and then we're going to sprinkle with our almonds. And really, if you wanted to also, now you guys aren't going to be able to see the very finished product of this variation. You can see those other ones there, and we'll take a look at those in a second. But if you wanted to also, you could take, these cherries have a lot of syrup that they come in. So you could take that syrup, we could reduce it. You could take it, leave it as is, and mix some powdered sugar in it. And you could drizzle that on top also. So, you know, like, there's a red fruit in there of some kind. And see what that is. So we're just going to sprinkle some beautiful almonds on top. These are blanched slivered almonds. You could do almonds with skin on. You could do whatever. And like I said, I've done these as cheddar bacon tribe, which is always a hit. I've done blueberry white chocolate, which is a big hit. You could do lots of fun things depending on seasonality, holidays, local ingredients, whatever you got. I'm going to add some more sugar. And we don't want to skimp on the turbinado sugar because it adds a really nice crust on the top. Beautiful. So now what's nice about these, we're going to pop these into the oven, but I want to talk still a little bit more just about like what you can do with these. So these go into an oven. Now something that you learn when you're at school here is no two ovens are the same, right? So just because a recipe says bake at 325 for, I don't know, 10 to 12 minutes, does not mean that that is the same for your oven, which could be at a different elevation, or could have, you know, an area, every oven has a hot spot in it. So there's an area in your oven that's a little bit hotter than everything else. So it doesn't count for all of those things. And so while you're at CIA, we teach you how to identify a finished baked product, not by the temperature of the oven, not by the amount of time that has lapsed, but by looking at the product, by using all of your senses, by smell, by sight, by taste, by sound. And so you go through and you watch your product to see the changes and to identify things that are done, things that could take more time. For example, like pastry, when you're making eclairs, those things look done for a long time and they are not done. You want to keep going and keep going. You're like, are you sure this is going to be really brown? And you're like, no, it has to keep going so that you get that beautiful hollow interior. So we're going to pop these into the oven. Let those go until they start to smell right. And then we're going to talk about these. So like I said, I made these earlier. These are the same scone recipe, but they have just those Bing cherries in them, and they've got chocolate in them. It's delicious and whatnot. I want to crack one open for you guys so you can actually see this crumb a little bit more. So so we've got great texture here. We've got nice loose crumb that's also got some crumbliness to it. It's got some nice bite to it. Like when I bite into it, it's got like a little bit of give.
or resistance rather. It's got some good texture. This could definitely like hold some clotted cream, some butter, some jam, whatever I want to put on it. Good stuff. It's good scone.
And you could take the scone and then turn around, sell it in your bakery. You could package it. You could talk through marketing. You know, throughout our program, you'll take a variety of classes, some of which cover marketing, some of which cover this product production, where you talk about different packaging. You talk about, you know, visualizing these items on a shelf, and you go through a variety of things. So these could sell anywhere from $2 each, $2.50 each, to $5+ each, depending on your area, your location, how big you make them, how small you make them, what your ingredients are, you name it. So, of course, you'll have to take into consideration all these other things that you learned about as well, like your staff, electricity, rent, all of these costs that come into play, and you factor that in as kind of like a base, and then adjust your costs based on ingredients and things from there. Yeah, these are some heavy cream scones. So I'd love to answer some questions if anybody has questions for me. It's been awesome speaking with you guys.
Thank you so much, Christina. So we're going to open up the floor to some Q&As. So if you have any questions, you can put them in the chat or in the Q&A section, and then Christina would love to answer them. But in the meantime, while we wait to answer some questions, I would love to know, what is your favorite thing to bake, Christina?
Oh, honestly, these scones might be it. This is like one of the things that I'm most well known for. I also do a lot of cakes. I'd say hummingbird cake is probably my favorite. Hummingbird is like a traditional Southern cake, which I am not from the South, but man, do I love it. It's got pineapple, pecans. It's just super delicious. And with a cream cheese frosting. Yum, 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 yum. That's probably one of the best.
I'll have to try it someday.
For sure.
Yeah. Another question that we have is, what was your favorite class when you studied here?
Oh my goodness.
If you could pick one.
Yes. So, well, it's tough because you learn so many incredible things. So there's a lot of favorites, but really, like, the chef instructors make some of the most magical experiences that I had in class. So when I started school, I was like dead set I want to just decorate cakes. And I was very much like, oh, I only like decorating cakes. It's the only area that I like. And what's so incredible about the program is you get to go through and experience all these different classes, and you get exposure to all these different techniques and types of things that you haven't had before. So I went into chocolates class, and I realized I do not like working with chocolate. Chocolate is for somebody with much cooler hands than I run. My hands are always running hot. And it is something that you have to be really kind of meticulous. And there are people who love chocolate and are very good at working with it. And that was just not for me. But then I got into breads class. That was just like a magical experience. It was almost like romantic. It was so unique for me to see these basic ingredients being turned into such incredible final products that are just made with love. You shape them by hand, you touch them, you're like in the process throughout. It's just a very hands-on experience, and it's just, you can do so many things with breads. And that was eye-opening for me. I would say making breads is my favorite area now, surpassed cakes because of that. So breads class.
Thank you. I feel like I also have hot hands, so chocolate
is very difficult. We literally would like put our hands on the inside of the freezer to cool them down a little bit, and then go back to our stations to try and not have hot hands. But yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah, but the breads class is really nice. Great. So our next question is, what advice do you have for incoming students or students who want to go into the fields?
Yeah, you got to keep an open mind, especially if you're coming in with any kind of like prior experience, which is fantastic. We love that. You have like actually kind of put your theories to the test and gone out and got some industry experience. You know that this is what you want. But when you come in with sometimes existing information, you come in with the mindset of like, I already know how to do this. And you want to kind of take a step back, get a little humility and recognize that you are at CIA because you want to learn from the very best. And they're teaching you the CIA way. So just because you know how to get to the same end result doesn't mean you know the same process, the same technique. And there is a tried and true reason why we're teaching you the CIA way. So to be open to that, to be a sponge, just to soak it in and to come in and be like, okay, I'm here, teach me the CIA way, regardless of any prior knowledge that you might have. That I think is huge. And invest in a good pair of kitchen shoes because your kitchen shoes will determine the amount of time you feel comfortable standing, and the amount of time you feel comfortable standing determines your attitude and how well you are able to interact with your team and your classmates. And invest in a good pair of kitchen shoes because that is the difference between a 3-hour happy day and a 12-hour happy day. So some arch support.
That's some great advice, Christina. Also, I feel like there's always a lot of things going on campus, and we want our students to take advantage of all the opportunities available. So that brings me to my next question. How were you involved on campus? Like, were you in any clubs?
Oh, yeah.
Were you in RA? How were you involved?
Yeah, so I was involved in quite a few clubs on campus. I know we don't have necessarily the same like names for those clubs right now, but I was a part of a volunteer club on campus. So I got involved a lot of things in the local area and contributed to the local community, which was a lot of fun. I was also a member of, it was a group called Slow Foods. I know we have variations of that now, but it was kind of one of the first like sustainability clubs on campus. We did some mushroom foraging. We did some really cool lectures with guest speakers. So that was a fun time. I definitely participated in like attending. We have lots of different like activities that go on. I know we just recently this past weekend or maybe 2 weeks ago, we had a big dance on campus. So that's always a good time. Anytime there's like a big activity going on campus, you definitely want to make sure you go. I went to Bada Bingo, which is like a crazy bingo night where you can win some fun prizes and just have lots of fun with your friends. Yeah, there's lots to do on campus for sure.
Yeah, thank you, Christina. And then the last question that we have is, who inspires you? So do you have any like bakers, any chefs, anyone who inspires you?
I mean, right now the students inspire me for sure, which I know sounds a little corny, but it's true. Because every day I get to work with students who are so excited and have this brand new spark of wanting to come in and just make something new and create something and have something of their own and take it back to their communities. I do a lot of work with our current students who help out with admissions events and listening to their goals, their ambitions, their stories. You know, their ultimate dreams is super inspiring. So current students.
Yeah, well, that was a great answer. Our students definitely inspire me on a daily basis. So yeah, thank you so much, Christina. Like we mentioned, if you do want the recipe, you can email us at admissions@culinary.edu, and then we can send you that recipe and that information for these delicious scones. But yeah, thank you so much, Christina.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, and now we'll move on to the last part of the event where I will go over the admissions process and then to another Q&A. So thanks, Christina. Hi again, everyone. So I am going to go back to the presentation and then go over the admissions process. And then if there are any questions that come up, then you can let me know. You can put them in the chat, or you can also put them in the Q&A section. So, share my screen. But that was an amazing demo by Christina. We're very thankful for her, and I want to try some of those scones. They smell really good. They look really good. Alrighty, so it's your time to shine. You can apply in 3 easy steps. So the first step would be to complete the CIA online application or the Common App. Next, we would need your official high school and/or college transcripts. So if you took some classes in college, we would need those. But if you're still in high school, as long as you have finished your 11th grade, then you can apply. Next, we would need an essay. So this is about 200 words telling us why you're passionate about the food and hospitality industry. If you have any experiences, it's just so that the admissions committee can get to know you a little bit more and understand why you want to study here. And then next we would need a letter of recommendation. So this letter of recommendation, it can be from an advisor, a professor, anyone who knows you academically or professionally and can speak to your skills. And that is something you would request directly through the application portal. And then lastly, for our international students, we would need a couple more documents. So we would need proof of English proficiency. So this can be through IELTS, TOEFL, Duolingo. There are a variety of exams that you can take. And then we would need proof of financial support. So the proof of financial support, it's 2 documents. So the first one is a copy of a bank statement from the past 12 months from a checkings or savings account, money market account, or certificate of deposit. And that would be showing proof of liquid funds, so easily accessible funds. And the minimum amount that we must see is 55,000 USD. And that would be the equivalent to 1 academic year of study, including tuition, fees, meals, and other estimated living expenses. And then alongside that, we would need a declaration of financial support. So this would be from your sponsor, and it's a document that we would send you, and your sponsor would fill it out and sign it, just verifying that they intend to cover any expenses while you study here. So once your application is complete, meaning we have all of those documents that I just went over, you can have an admissions decision in a matter of days. So once you're accepted, you'll have to pay the enrollment deposit. And then for the international students, you would submit the I-20 request form, and that will get you your visa appointment. We are committed to you. So international students at our New York campus are eligible for the following scholarships: the CIA Merit Scholarship, which is if you have above a 2.0 GPA, then you'll receive between 1,000 and 3,000 USD. And that is, it's renewable. And then we have a CIA alumni referral grant. So that's if you know an alumni and they write you a letter of recommendation, then that is a one-time scholarship of $1,000. Next, we have something called the Chef Platform. So for accepted and incoming students, you'll have access to a scholarship database. It's renewed monthly, so you can go on there and see the different opportunities that they have available. And then lastly is our Earn and Learn program. So our Earn and Learn program is it's a tuition offset scholarship where you'll work a fixed number of hours on campus. So you can work like as a tour guide in one of the restaurants, as a lifeguard, and then any money that you make will be deducted off of your tuition balance. So the maximum amount you can make through the Earn and Learn program is 2,635 USD, and that you can do every semester as long as there's availability. So we are here to help you. I would encourage you to connect with your personal admissions counselor. So that would either be myself or my colleague, Amanda Stevens. It just depends which country you're from. If you're not sure who your admissions counselor is, then you can email admissions@culinary.edu, or you can call the 1-800-Culinary number and we can connect you to your counselor. And then so the next upcoming semesters that you can apply for. So we are accepting applications for April 2024. The deadline for that semester is March 13th. So if you want to apply, then you should definitely submit your application soon. Next is September 2024, and then January 2025. So April 2024, September 2024, and January 2025. So we had a question about when orientation for accepted students are. So I would encourage you to email your enrollment manager. They can give you a little bit more information and details about the orientation, but it is typically during August, so right before, like during move-in time. And are there any other questions? So we had a question about someone asking if they can proceed with the application if they don't have their passport yet. So typically students do upload their passport to their application. It's optional, but we will need it on file for your I-20. So I would say you can still apply and you can submit all your documents and get an admissions decision, but just try to get your passport to us so that we can have it on file once you receive it. So if there's no more questions, then I would encourage you to take a screenshot of this page just so that you have like our contact information if you have any additional questions. But thank you all so much for attending this event. And thank you to Christina as well for doing the demo. That was amazing. And then if you have any other questions, you can let us know. Thank you so much, everyone. And I hope you have a great day.